You have no idea of what God is doing. It is so very important that we don't try to rush God, but wait patiently on Him and His timing. He may not come when we want Him to, or how we want Him to come, but He is always accurate and never late. That's why Galatians 6 and 9 encourages us, and let us not be weary in well-doing. For in due season we shall reap if we faint not. Also, Psalms 27:14 says, Wait on the Lord, be of good courage, and he shall strengthen thine heart. Wait, I say, on the Lord. Then 1 Corinthians 2 and 9 says, But as it is written, Eye have not seen, nor ear heard, neither have entered into the heart of man the things which God had prepared for them that love him. What does all this mean? It means you have no idea of what God is doing. As we look at the story of Abraham, Sarah, and Isaac, we find that waiting on God's timing is always the best solution because we have no idea of what God's timing will produce. God tells Abraham at the age of 75, he will give his seed the land of Canaan. Genesis 12 and 7. At this time, Abraham has no children, and his wife Sarah is 65 years old and barren. After dwelling in Canaan for 10 years, and Sarah and Abraham have not yet been able to have children, Sarah decided to help God out in performing his word by giving her maid Hagar to Abraham to bear a son in her place. Genesis 16:1 through 3. Sarah got what she asked for, but it was not what God asked for. Sarah helped produce an Ishmael from her maid Hagar that brought her grief all the days of her life and the world today. If Sarah had waited on God, who destined an Isaac, it would not only have blessed the nation of Israel, but the entire world. Her problem was she had no idea of what God was doing. My greatest understanding came from the story of Saul, Jesse, and David. Saul is anointed and chosen to be the first king of Israel. 1 Samuel 10 and 1 says, Then Samuel took a vial of oil and poured it upon his head and kissed him and said, Is it not because the Lord have anointed thee to be king over his inheritance? But later, after Saul reigns as king for 2 years, he disobeys God. And God tells the prophet Samuel to tell him, But now thy kingdom shall not continue. The Lord hath sought him a man after his own heart. And the Lord hath commanded him to be captain over his people, because thou hast not kept that which the Lord commanded thee. 1 Samuel 13, verses 1 and 14. That brings questions to my mind. History says Saul became king at the age of 30 and reigned about 40 years, which means he died at the age of 70 years old. Acts 13, verse 21. David also became king at 30 years old after Saul died, which makes David about 40 years younger than Saul. So how could the prophet Samuel speak this word from the Lord to Saul that God has sought or chosen him a man after his own heart to be captain over his people? How could God be speaking this concerning David being Saul's successor when David is not yet born? If you'd like to know the inspired answer to this question, be sure to continue to follow us next week because you have no idea of what God is doing. Get calm.